Hi, I'm Mitch Rankin. I'm the co-founder of Fraud Protocol. The crypto space is confusing, it's scary, and it's exciting all at once. And to the average person on the street, the crypto and blockchain world just sounds so complicated, filled with complicated terminology and concepts. We're going to talk in layman's terms, in easy to understand language, with Ford's main theme at mind, which is making blockchain easy for you to understand and to use in your traditional business. I want to chat to you about 4 different concepts, and we're going to break them down one by one so we can understand them together. And these are decentralization, ownership, verifiability, and execution. They all illustrate how by shifting to Web3 infrastructure, it will lead to 4 key changes in your and my experience as users. Remember that there will be sacrifices on both ends, and each of these changes comes with both costs and benefits. Decentralization is how servers are connected in Web3 versus the way that they're connected in Web2 infrastructure. And a simple way to think about it is that data structures in Web2 are primarily managed by large servers controlled by a small number of entities. And these are the companies that run the server farms and the big tech. Whereas in Web3, they're managed by smaller servers controlled by a large number of entities because they're decentralized across many computers on the internet. Web2 gives the user a data network that's easy to deploy, develop, and maintain, but far more likely to suffer from single points of failure, to security risks, and to privacy intrusions. Web3 promises an open and trustless infrastructure, and one that is censorship resistant. It hasn't got any single point of failure, but it tends to have a much lower throughput, and it'll require much more computational resources. It's a lot more complex to implement and to coordinate. The ownership of Web3 is the way that we publicly keep track of progress and history by running nodes, which is guaranteed by consensus rules instead of by our own user progress and history. And in other words, Web3 infrastructure sets the foundations for a trustless infrastructure in which intermediaries can be removed without a loss of functionality. But with ownership comes great responsibility. And without the intermediaries that we have in Web2, we gain user control, but it comes at the expense of the service that we get from these big tech companies now. And this has to be balanced out. In Web2, the user has to rely on private information brokers, the tech giants, for data, identity, for security or transactions to keep this history. And in essence, these companies act as both the creators and the gatekeepers. Verifiability allows the public access to blockchain data that is past a fault-tolerant group consensus mechanism. And in the case of a truly decentralized blockchain, anybody can download and verify the entire history of the validated blockchain data. There's no intermediary standing between the user and their progress history. In essence, the blockchain belongs to everyone equally and fairly. Decentralization and ownership allow never before seen level of verifiability, and this allows us to directly verify, select, and copy protect information about what we own and what others own. And it opens the possibility for multiple parties who don't know each other to settle agreements about value over the internet for the very first time. We're going to dive into this a lot deeper when we chat about smart contracts and how they work in a future video. The downside is that to achieve all of this takes time and a lot of computational power. Execution is the way that smart contracts are executed exactly as the code is written, without any intermediaries or closed protocol or opaque code. And these are self-executing tools or smart contracts with the terms of the agreement among parties interacting with it written into the lines of open source code that everyone can see. Web3 opens the potential for the public to own a larger part of the web again, like we did in Web 1. And it's doing this by building a foundation of linked data on the back end of what we call blockchains. Data that is decentralized, censorship resistant, it's verifiable, and it's publicly available. And the future will tell us how much this new web and the qualities it brings about by Web3 infrastructure will actually accrue value. It's really so early in the evolution of Web3 to think about this, but it's an exciting time to be part of this whole process. The main challenge for traditional companies is how their users and developers can and cost effectively implement the blockchain data into their applications. And this is where Forward comes in. So what does Forward do? Forward makes blockchain easy for you to use and understand. If you're a developer, you can use Forward to deploy your own creations and profit from it. Other platforms can use Forward to reduce their barrier to entry and get to the market sooner without large capital outlays or long development timelines. Other blockchains can integrate with Forward Chain for platforms to quick deploy them in a click. And other blockchain technology can integrate Forward Factory and provide their solutions to our users. Forward doesn't compete with anybody out there. In fact, we collaborate with everybody and encourage it. And we make things simple. We connect the traditional business world with the blockchain world using a no-code toolkit, and we make the dream of blockchain adoption practical. What we know is that if it's easy for you to use, you'll use it. So I invite you, come and join us, reach out to the team, and let's move forward together.